99.3 Nigeria for lovely morning to you. Welcome to From the Front Pages. I am Sheriff Quadry. This is the part of the morning Crossfire where you get to go online and watch us live on YouTube and Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3 on those platforms. Nigeria Info 99.3. If you'd like to see us live in the studio and follow our conversation where we bring to you analysis of headlines that have made it to the front pages of the papers this morning. You can also follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM on Twitter. You can also share your thoughts via our WhatsApp portal. If you like to comment on any headline that jumps out at you this morning, the WhatsApp line is 0809 597 5805. That is 0809 597 5805. We're live right now. We have Gbolahan Olojede joining the program this morning. Gbolahan, good morning to you.
Good morning, Sheriff.
It's good to have you here.
Yeah.
Let's start with our partner, the Guardian newspaper. With a banner here, tension in Kogi, Bayelsa ahead of Guba elections. Barely 5 days to the governorship elections in Kogi and Bayelsa. Political temperature in the states moved a notch higher yesterday as hoodlums unleashed violence and political parties accused each other of plots to deploy armed thugs. In Kogi, suspected political thugs burnt down the secretariat of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, in Lokoja, the state capital. The office was earlier attacked on Sunday. Windows and doors were shattered. Banners, posters, and other campaign materials at the office were also destroyed and reportedly replaced with the posters of one of the governorship aspirants. There you go. Well, it has started. Can we ever separate violence from our electoral system?
It's very pathetic. It's a sad commentary. I'm wondering, Lokoja is the capital of Kogi State.
Absolutely.
So how would that kind of a thing happen in where there should be security, where there are police? I don't get it.
It's a state capital.
It's the state capital. So why were the police watching while hoodlums were attacking Secretariat, breaking down the doors and breaking the glasses, and eventually setting it on fire? Who were arrests made? It's very sad. It seems as if the desperation of the politicians, which is one thing INEC had always talked about, the politicians are too desperate and they will do anything to win an election. If a particular candidate is so sure of himself,
right,
why does he need hoodlums to go and start attacking other people's secretariat? Of course, he will tell you he didn't know about it, or they would deny that they were involved in any way. But we all know how these things work.
With all the police, all the NSCDC officers deployed to that state, this still happened.
This still happened.
What does that say about what is still happened?
Those
Friday, Saturday, leading to the election.
Let's hope this event is.
Are we hoping now? Well, this is happening with all the tens of thousands of security operatives.
Well, it should probably just make them realize that
especially in Kogi.
Nothing.
Especially in Kogi.
Are you sure Bayelsa is different?
No, but most of these policemen, security operatives that have been deployed are deployed to Kogi, especially Kogi.
There will be deployment in Bayelsa, of course. But you see, these places have been known for this violence for a long time. Despite the fact that these elections are off cycle, in which one would have expected something more organized,
right, well monitored.
It doesn't often go that way. I think the fact that the SDP woman eventually made it onto the ballot, added to the problem, because somehow she's going to split the vote of the two main actors before.
Absolutely.
So whoever is feeling threatened will most likely be. It's just a very pathetic situation.
It is, absolutely, anytime, any day. And that gives me worry because the entire nation, the eye of the entire nation is on these elections in Bayelsa and Kogi, and yet violence has started already. And just yesterday, Rotimi Oyekomi was speaking at a press conference, and he said, as a matter of fact, he even spoke to our correspondent exclusively and said that, security, has been taken care of.
When you deploy 35,000 policemen, of course, you feel bold that security has been taken up, because now it means that every polling unit will have at least 2 policemen.
Right.
So, from the perspective of INEC, security is indeed taken care of. But the desperate politician is the main issue we have in this country. It is simply horrible. Now, my worry is that we may not have the right level of participation of the citizens if they feel threatened that some violence will happen. So people would rather just sit down and be watching TV. So at the end of the day, the change that they may wish to make, if they want to make a change, may not happen.
Indeed. Let's look at the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Gloom as power supply lags behind target by 7,454 megawatts. Riders threatens FG's economic and recovery growth plan. That's ERGP. MAN, that's Manufacturer Association of Nigeria. LCCI lament experts call for government intervention. Let's flip through into the inside pages of that paper and look at what the headline is really all about. The federal government's economic and recovery growth plan, ERGP, set for realizations between 2017 and 2020 appears to have been scuttled by a drop in power supply from 4,000 megawatts to 2,546 megawatts. This is a deficit of 7,454 megawatts from the envisaged 10,000 megawatts target set for the economic recovery plan. Data obtained by the Vanguard from the daily briefing on the Nigerian Power Sector Advisory Power Team, Office of the Vice President, stated that on November 9, I think I witnessed this one. It was last weekend. It was horrible. On November 9, 2019, average energy sent out was 2,546 megawatt hour, down by 1,262.47 megawatt hour from the previous day. 1,356 megawatts was not generated due to unavailability of gas. So last weekend, Gbolahan, we had the power grid collapse. And we are targeting 10,000 megawatts. From what we're seeing here, this is like an impossible task. And that particular 10,000 megawatts is just for 2020. Just for 2020 target. Well, and we cannot
we're not yet at 2020. I had read somewhere that the first person that motored the idea of 3,000 megawatts of electricity was the late President Shehu Shagari. Shehu Shagari left the saddle in 1983. 1983 to now is 36 years.
Right.
And we are still dancing around that same 3,000. They said we lost 1,000, whatever. Now we fell to 2,000. When are we going to move further? What is so... I don't know, because power, people are doing it all over the world.
Right.
See the reason given. No gas. We have more gas than we have oil. We're a gas nation.
Right.
Still, we can't bring out gas to power our own turbines. Meanwhile, we've had nations who had no water, who are channeling water, giving the water that doesn't exist speed to turn turbine and generate electricity. Here we are, we have the gas that is required to generate electricity, but we can't seem to get past these magical 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 megawatts.
Why is it so difficult for us to have at least get to 10,000? We can't even get above 8,000.
Well, we recently signed something with Siemens.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, let's hope that will help us in a way. I am beginning to think there are certain level of sabotage within that space. How can the nation not be able to move beyond 4,000 megawatts for 3 decades? Abba, what is going on?
It's disturbing.
Very disturbing.
And it's quite troubling.
Imagine the desperation with which Obasanjo approached this issue. We must spend money, we must get out of this problem.
Right.
By the time he left, there was still no power.
This is sad, really. The power situation in Nigeria. I don't know. Maybe we need some divine intervention.
It's a spiritual issue.
Maybe we should go to our worship centers to kind of just clap to God and say, "Come on, solve this problem for us."
It's one of those things that make you wonder if there's something wrong with a black man. Because I can assure you that if we bring...
In some other African countries, they're having stable power.
South Africa is generating over 50,000 megawatts.
What is wrong with the black man here? A friend of mine was in Rwanda the other day. He told me that there was power.
There could be power. How much is Rwanda generating? How much
it's a country.
It is a country. But something is wrong with us. And I still cannot pin... Because we know all the problems. We know all the problem from generation to transmission to distribution. So why can't we solve it?
That's a question. That's $1 million question. Why can't we solve our power situation? We have experts in that field. Prefer Solutions. They've told us things to do. These experts have also been alleged to be involved in some illegalities themselves. So what is our problem?
We can't fix power. Bring Wemimo 2 years, you go see results.
Okay, well, like you said, we've signed a deal with Siemens, and I think there's an arrangement with the UAE as well. So hopefully things will change. Hopefully, let's hope. Lagos has an arrangement with UAE. I think
a country of our size is approaching UAE. A 200 million people country is begging UAE to come and help fix. This is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
A bunch of shameless people.
It is ridiculous, and it's quite saddening. Let's move over to Daily Independent newspaper. Continued border closure threatens telcos operations. Destruction of telecommunication services imminent. That's on the front page of Daily Independent newspaper. Similar headline here on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Fuel supply suspension. Petrol scarcity hits border towns. Fuel now 600 naira per litre. Riders fuel smuggling thrives in Adamawa. Sokoto task force brutalizes Idiroko residents. We're here again. The border closure.
The border closure has been on for how many months now? Maybe
it started in August.
And this is November, so like 3 months we've been on this matter. I thought I saw some bright lights last week when the Minister for External Affairs was saying some things about discussions that were going on, as if we are near to a point where we can reach agreement with the border nations and be able to release this tension. But it's been more than a week now, and it doesn't seem as if there's any concrete hope in sight, and that is quite worrisome. Measures like closing the borders should be interventional. It should be for a temporary period. For if we want to negotiate anything, we can go and negotiate. Whatever, But if it's extended as it has become, I think it's counterproductive.
They said there is no end in sight. Initially, there was an initial report of January, but then the federal government came out to say that they didn't put time frame. There is no time frame as to when the borders will be open. That they need to talk with all the parties involved, all the countries involved, and it's looking like this could be endless. And yet, as you have seen, telecoms operators are saying that this will affect operations, their services, telecom services in those areas, because the supply of petrol has been restricted in those border communities and border towns. And we have people living there as well. How do the government expect them to survive?
I think 20 kilometers to the borders are not allowed to be supplied petrol. And the question that comes to mind is, we said these borders are closed, the customs people are there, and other relevant agencies. What are we still worried about then? Especially for those formal borders. If our people are there, it means that nobody should be able to carry this fuel across those borders. So what exactly are we worried about?
So instead of stopping, restricting the supply of petrol, why don't you put customs officers
Let
there?
the customs officers simply do their jobs. They are there, the borders are closed, and I don't get it. There is more than meet the eyes. Maybe sometimes down the lane, we will know exactly what the issues around these border closures are. There are a few of them that are glaring, the rice issue and all the rest of them. But we cannot continue to use border closure as a way to deal with this matter.
No, we cannot.
We cannot.
We cannot do that.
And
Lives
that's
are
my
at
worry.
stake. And the Ghanaian traders are retaliating right now by giving ultimatum to Nigerian traders in that
leave.
country to leave. The deadline is Thursday, 14th of November.
It's shameful. Maybe when the president is back.
Indeed. Let's take a few comments. Let's go to WhatsApp quickly. Good morning, comrades. The truth is there are some saboteurs in the power sector gaining to the detriment of Nigerians. FG should put a stop to generator importation and call experts to fix this power problem once and for all. God bless Nigeria. It is a Din Naji. It is a thank you. He sent us that one on the WhatsApp. All the killings in Kogi, my state, is that someone tries to force himself on the people. And my problem is that he doesn't do the killings himself. He uses the youths who should be at the vanguard of development. It should be a long time before. It will be a long time before the youths get it right in this country. Alex Agbo. Yeah, your message has been signed, sealed, delivered. Good morning, Quadry. Mr. Gbolahan said that there is a sabotage in the city sector. The solution is simple. Let's stop importation for generator for 3 years, and there will be result. Patrick from Ejigbo. Patrick, thank you. All those messages from our WhatsApp portal. Let's go to Facebook very quickly. Femi Taiwo on Facebook says the only solution to power in this country is if the president becomes the minister for power, just as it's being done in petroleum. Practically everyone coming in and are coming in to cash out for personal purpose, else you'll stay 100 years and it will be same story. Osita Dina on Facebook says, don't go far. South Africa is going gradually to Nigeria situation. They are now doing power shedding. And that is absolutely true. I heard the power company there apologizing for that development the other day. And on Twitter, someone posted a picture of the office of the SDP that was vandalized and posters of the incumbent governor now littering the walls of that particular vandalized office secretariat. His name is Theophilus at the 1001. And it says, here is the poster of Yahya Bello of APC posted on SDP office in Kogi after destroying the SDP posters. Sherry refused calling the party or governor's posters on air, either trying to protect APC or Yahya Bello or protect a job. Okay, before I even read your message, I've also described this thing, so it has nothing to do with politics. I get it. Politics is a very sentimental issue in Nigeria. If you say one thing, they will say you belong to that part. If you say another thing, they will say you belong to this part. That's the way it is. We're used to it. Emmanuel Iheme on Twitter says there is no solution to the power problem in Nigeria. Politicians are using the power problem to make monies for themselves. Let's get back to the headlines right now. Moving on to this Daily Sun newspaper. Okogie Onayekon Naba won over 2023 presidency. Writer says security waning confidence in INEC biggest threat to Nigeria's unity in next presidential election. Only competent person deserves our votes. Naba. So the discussion of the 2020 election is heating up, Gbolahan.
Correct.
And people, actors, are not keeping quiet about it. They keep talking about it. And INEC needs to prove everybody right, especially with Bielsa and Kogi election, especially with the off-cycle elections, so that we know how ready INEC is. With this particular headline saying that INEC is one of the biggest, problems that Nigerians need to focus on.
Honestly, I beg to disagree. I don't think INEC is the biggest problem. I think the politicians are the biggest problems of the system. come to think of it, we are talking 2023 now, and we are pinning it down on INEC. Don't forget that 2023 requires an amended Electoral Act. Is that INEC?
Right.
It's not INEC.
That is yet to be signed.
It's yet to be signed.
Nobody is saying anything about
Nobody's
it,
talking
Gbolahan.
about this. Meanwhile, there are major issues in that amendment. If you're going to do electronic transmission, for example, we must be able to deal with the ungoverned spaces. There are a whole lot of parts in Nigeria where you can't even send a text. So how do you transmit in those kind of places? So are we going to deploy certain things that will enable those to happen? How are we going to deal with those? We need to resolve it ahead of time.
Right.
If we don't, and we present this thing as it is on the eve of the next election, on the eve of 2023 elections, there will be problems again. And that will not be INEC.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
But then, how soon can we get talking about this? Because I'm particularly interested in that electoral amendment, act that the president was supposed to sign before the last election.
If you ask me,
he didn't sign, and nobody's talking about it. Even stakeholders have kept quiet. Everybody has gone to bed. And when it's the eve of the election, we now start talking about it once again.
That's my biggest worry. Left to me, immediately you remove this budget matter off the table, go to that Electoral Act and fix it in a few months. The issues that were raised were a handful of them, maybe about 3 or 4 issues were raised. Why it wasn't signed the other time.
Right.
Can we go back to those issues, sit down, resolve them, and get this act in place like 3 years before the election? There is a election coming up next year.
Right.
Can we target that and say we will be able to test the amended Electoral Act with the Edo election? Those are the kind of things we should be thinking about.
Indeed.
Rather than just talking 2023, 2023. When 2023 comes and this is the same Electoral Act, there will be the same problem now.
Yeah, there will be, definitely.
And it will not be about INEC alone.
Let's look at these headlines from Daily Independent newspaper this morning. People with mental health disorders chained, abused in Nigeria. This is a report from Human Rights Watch. It's right there on page 41 of the paper. Let's see if we can just take a sneak peek into that particular story before we go this morning. Okay, I think it's somewhere here. Yep, I got it. Here we go. Okay, so thousands of people with mental health conditions across Nigeria are chained and locked up in various facilities where they face terrible abuse, Human Rights Watch said on Monday, asking government to ban the practice. In a report, Human Rights Watch said detention, chaining and violent treatments are pervasive in many settings, including state hospitals, rehabilitation centers, traditional healing centers, and both Christian and Islamic faith-based facilities. According to senior disability rights researcher at Human Rights Watch, let me quote the person. People with mental health conditions should be supported and provided with effective services in their communities, not chained and abused. End of quote.
Well, 2 quick issues leapt at my mind when I heard this story. One is the fact that why did those institutions emerge? It is because there was a gap, a huge gap on the side of the government. If there are no facilities, how many people can handle these categories of Nigerians?
Right.
So when someone has a mental situation that requires help and the immediate relation cannot handle that, they are incapacitated to do it, they start looking for ways. And these spiritual homes and the rest of them are the easier way, I will use the word, to get rid of them. Because what they do is that you send these people to this place and you forget totally about them. These people are chained, some of them die, some of them, contract all sort of ailments while they're staying there.
Right.
So they're not really healing. They're being destroyed further.
It's terrible, really. Let's take a few comments before we go on the program this morning. Greetings to the studio. Victor from Redemption Camp, Moe. The issue with Kogi election violence isn't about desperate politicians this time. Rather, it's more of compromised security system. Examples: the SDV office in Kogi is a few meters away from the police headquarters. Hoodlums still had their way for a reasonable period. Okay. Victor, thank you for sending that message. That's how much we can take on the From the Front Pages this morning on 99.3 Nigeria for Gbolahan. Thank you for being a part of it.
Yeah.
But I will
Thanks
still
for
be
having me.
in the studio because we have an interesting conversation coming up at 8. We're looking at Lagos State's 2020 budget right here on the Morning Crossfire. I'm Sheriff Quadry, and we're back in a moment.
More news and information coming up. We'll be back in a moment.